Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Happy fourth Sunday of the month. This is when we do the Compassion Consortium. So if you happen to be around at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 o'clock Pacific, or wherever you are in between, check out compassionconsortium.org. Our special guest today is Kathy Freston, who is amazing. And our other special guest is John Lewis, badass vegan. We're going to feature him and his co-filmmaker Keegan Kuhn at the Compassion Consortium film night, February 15th. So if you're interested, just check out compassionconsortium.org. No charge, but you do have to register. So you have joined for my daily, just about daily, Instagram Live, where I read from my book, Younger by the Day, and comment on that. But today I'm not going to read because the topic, if I were to read, and I'll stick with the topic is called Supplementary Suggestions. So we're going to be talking about dietary supplements. But as I've said, if you've been on this call before, that this book is about 18 years old. And so much of it is just true and evergreen and doesn't change. But some of the stuff, some of the science-based stuff does change. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit today about supplements and how I see them today. Now, interestingly enough, that green tea that I just had a sip of could actually be considered a supplement because it has so many amazing phytochemicals. I've learned recently that substances in green tea are actually specific for the lungs, for scarring of the lungs, COPD, that kind of thing. Amazing in something that is absolutely delicious and fabulous and you can drink all day long, interspersed with water. But we're going to talk about the supplement philosophy. Hi, Phil. Nice to see you. Some names that I recognize. So, food contains nutrients, and obviously that's where we're supposed to get it. And if you really want to read a treatise on this, you want to get Dr. T. Colin Campbell's book, Whole, where he talks about it's not these individual nutrients that you pull out of a food, but it's the whole totality of natural foods that haven't been processed and messed with that nourish humans, that have nourished humans for millennia and will continue to do so. Then on the other side, you've got people who are saying, but the land isn't what it used to be. It's all been depleted. We've lost nutrients in the soil. And if you're eating locally, then you're not getting nutrients that might be in the soil somewhere else. And then if you're getting food shipped in from far away, it's not really fresh, and so it's lost its nutrients. So you need to take some supplements. I come somewhere in the middle. In fact, I think I'm one of those centrists. I tend to find myself in the middle quite a bit. So the way I look at it, other than a couple of supplements that are just really hard to get from food, and we'll talk about those, generally speaking, we get our nutrients from food. But sometimes having a little bit extra of a nutrient has an almost pharmaceutical effect. It changes something within the physiology that you're looking to change before moving all the way to pharmaceuticals. So let's say, for example, somebody has high cholesterol and they're eating a whole food plant-based diet and they're doing everything they're supposed to do. And most of the time, that's all it takes. You know, you eat plants, you get some exercise, you keep your fat low. And then just as was shown in studies by Dean Ornish, Dr. Dean Ornish and Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, the cholesterol plummets. And in many cases, the heart disease, the atherosclerotic plaque, actually starts to decrease. But for some people, it doesn't happen. You know, they might have a genetic predisposition to making more cholesterol. So maybe somebody like that would want to take something like this, some plant sterols that have been shown to lower cholesterol. And there are the CoQ10 is supposed to be very good for heart issues. So maybe before Lipitor, you might want to do something like that. So that's kind of where I come down on it. So now we're going to talk about the really basic stuff, not for any kind of pathology. And I also need to just do the caveat, I am not a physician, I am not a dietitian, I am not a nutritionist. Now I have taken the T. Colin Campbell Nutrition Foundation E-Cornell course, but I don't call myself a nutritionist. To me, nutritionist means 4 years, maybe a master's degree. I don't have that. But I have taken that course. I am a certified holistic health counselor, and I've been studying nutrition on my own since I was 9 years old, because I was a fat kid and it was really hard back then. I know we have a lot of larger children nowadays. When I was a kid, I was the only one. Well, there was usually one other one in the school, and that person was always my best friend. So I'm 9 years old, I want to do something about my body, and my dad's a doctor. So I climb up on his desk and pull down this giant volume. I don't know how I knew this was a nutrition book, because it was titled in Latin. It was called Elementaris Humanis. Anyway, it was his nutrition book from medical school back in, gosh, the 1930s. Of course, I couldn't understand a word of the thing, except there was a really interesting chart in there that was actually in English, and it was foods listed by nutrient density. So Dr. Joel Fuhrman does that. He calls them his Andy scores. They used to at least post them at Whole Foods Market, where you could see where you get the most bang for your nutritional buck, the most nutrients per calories. So I'm seeing this in my dad's ancient medical book, and the top choices I'd never even heard of. They were things like Calais and collard greens. And then it got to mustard greens, and I thought, well, that's a typo. Everybody knows mustard is yellow. But as it went on down, it said spinach. I knew what that was because Popeye ate it. But that was really my big introduction, and I've been studying nutrition as a layperson ever since. So let's just jump right into this and get the job done. So B12, most vital nutrient. If you are a vegan, if you are a vegetarian, and if you are a human eating anything and you have celebrated your 50th birthday, then you are advised by the Academy of Medicine to supplement vitamin B12. You don't need much of it. Most vitamins, if you read labels, they'll say milligrams. For B12, it's micrograms, but they're really important micrograms, because B12 does a lot of things in the body, but primarily you want to protect your nervous system. And the problem with getting deficient in B12, it's not like some other nutrients. Like, for example, vitamin D, which we'll get to in a minute. If you've had your vitamin D level checked by your doctor, he may have told you, oh gosh, your vitamin D level's really low, so bring it up, and he'll tell you how he wants you to do that. And no harm, no foul. But with vitamin B12, serious damage can be done before you find out that you didn't have enough. So I look at vitamin B12 as kind of the rent I take for being vegan. I mean, it's like I have this wonderful life, this wonderful diet. I feel so good about what I eat, about who I'm not eating. And so it's no big deal to just take a little B12, which you can dissolve under your tongue or get however you want to get it. So that's the first one. And then I mentioned vitamin D. It's interesting. We didn't used to all think that we needed to take vitamin D all the time, but in the past 20 years, it's really come to the fore that a great many people do not get enough vitamin D. Now, we're supposed to get it from the action of sunlight on the skin, but it's kind of a rare person who can do that, because for one thing, you have to live at a latitude below Atlanta all year round to get enough sun for that to work. And you have to have skin that's not too dark, so the melanin is blocking the action, the hormonal action of the sun turning into vitamin D on your skin. But if you're really fair like me and you slather on sunscreen all over yourself, you're not getting it either. You're also not going to make that vitamin D if you go out and you run and you live in South Florida and you're wearing your tank top and your shorts and you come right inside and you take a shower. So it's pretty hard to get vitamin D these days the way we're supposed to get it. So Ideally, you want to get your levels tested. Sometimes if you're really low, the doctor will tell you to take super mega doses for a short period of time. But basically, for most people, they're saying like 1,000 international units a day. So vitamin D is very important for bones. You can't use calcium unless you have vitamin D, but it's also been shown to help prevent cancer. It's great for immunity. So vitamin D, you probably need it. And then the next kind of really basic nutrient that I would put in the, super duper, don't ignore this, is the EPA and DHA, which are omega-3 fatty acids. Now, people who eat salmon and cold water fish feel that they're getting theirs from that. I personally would never recommend eating fish for the sake of the fish, for the sake of the oceans. And because fish is so polluted, a doctor can take your blood and tell if you eat fish or not by the amount of arsenic and mercury in your body. Fish is the only food that pregnant women are told to be sure they hardly eat any of. I mean, that ought to tell you something. So, you can get omega-3 fatty acids from soy, from flaxseed, from hemp seeds, from chia seeds, and that comes in a form called ALA. But here's where it gets tricky. For your body to use that, the ALA has to be translated into EPA and DHA. And some people do that better than others. They say that women do it better than men, but I had mine tested, and I can tell you that this woman had super duper ALA. I am an ALA superstar, but my EPA and DHA was practically non-existent. So since then, I have been taking it. So why do we want to take it? Primarily, it's for brain health. And certainly, if you are pregnant or if you want to become pregnant, you really need to get your EPA and DHA. There is a lot of research suggesting, hi, Kathy. Kathy Freston has joined, and she's going to be our special guest on the Compassion Consortium today. How cool. So anyway, talking about EPA and DHA, it is believed that some cases of postpartum depression happen because the baby takes what the baby needs and it leaves the mom depleted with these essential fatty acids. So those are important. So I get all of those from a supplement called Complement, and I'm going to show you that. Now what I take is Complement Plus. It's got some other stuff in it in addition to what I just talked about. This is the only company that I have ever become an affiliate for. And maybe because my mom was a salesperson, she was an amazing salesperson, kind of legendary. And so I'm very uncomfortable selling anything. I just feel like, don't kill me if I'm trying to sell something. But anyway, I am an affiliate, and this is a great company. It's all vegans. Dr. Joel Kahn, Dr. Pamela Ferguson, registered dietitian, Matt Frazier, the no meat athlete. So if you want to look at this, their website is lovecomplement.com, and you can put in Main Street in all caps, and that's my affiliate link, and that means you save some money and I get a cut. And if you don't want me to have a cut, then don't put in the code. So anyway, I'm going to talk about some of the other nutrients that are in this formulation, which is called Complement Plus. They have another one that's just B12, vitamin D, and EPA DHA, which of course you can get from some other company. It doesn't matter where you get it as long as you get it. But some of the other nutrients that are in this Complement Plus are zinc, which is great for immunity, and it's kind of hard to get enough zinc. Pumpkin seeds are the biggest source in the plant kingdom, but it's nice to have a little zinc insurance. Another one that's in here is selenium. Now, selenium you can get from Brazil nuts. If you eat, I think Dr. Greger says it's 22 Brazil nuts a month, you get all the selenium you need, or you can supplement it. You don't want to do both because it is possible to overdo on selenium. Then iodine is another interesting one. That's another nutrient that a lot of people who are not vegetarian get from fish. But in the olden days, when people ate all local food, the Midwest was considered the goiter belt because they were so far from oceans, that the soil didn't have these wonderful kind of sea nutrients, and people were getting goiters, which is a big growth of the thyroid, because they didn't have enough iodine. So they started, and I think it was the 1940s, putting iodine in the salt. So if you use just regular, Morton salt, and you get the kind that says, excuse me, iodized, because not all of it is, then you're probably fine. But maybe you don't eat any salt, or maybe you like Himalayan pink salt. And if that's the case, you can do one of two things. One is you can eat sea vegetables on a regular basis, not just, I had dulse once, but like daily. And dulse is a safer one. You want to stay away from hijiki, that has a lot of arsenic. And kelp actually has so much iodine, you might overdo it. So dulse is a really nice one if you want to do this with sea vegetables, or you can take it as a supplement. It's here in Complement Plus and, wherever else you want to find it. So also in here, we've got magnesium, which is pretty abundant in a plant-based diet. It's in grains, it's in beans, but it's a little bit hard to absorb, and sometimes people just need a little bit of extra help on that. And magnesium, like vitamin D, is really necessary for bones. It helps you to use calcium. It's also really good, along with B complex, for your mood, for calmness, for stability, for falling asleep at night. And it's been shown to be really helpful in case of migraine headaches. There is a neurologist, a headache expert here in New York City, wonderful, wonderful doctor. He's also a yogi, and his name is Alexander Mauskopf, Mauskopf. And you can look up Dr. Mauskopf if you do have a problem with migraines, and he talks about magnesium and lots of other wonderful things. Then we have in here vitamin K2. Now, vitamin K1, is ubiquitous throughout the plant kingdom. So if you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, you are getting vitamin K1 out the kazoo, particularly from your leafy greens. And we used to think that vitamin K1 translated into vitamin K2, but now the prevailing belief is that it does not, and that you need to get your vitamin K2 somewhere else. So if you want to get it from food and still be a vegan, there is a fermented soy food called natto. That is an acquired taste. So maybe if you grew up in Japan and have always eaten it, you'll think it's yummy. Most people who didn't grow up with it just find the smell and the taste not to their liking, but be adventurous, give it a try, or you can take a supplement like this one that has some vitamin K2 in it. Oh, let's see, did I leave anything out? Selenium, zinc, magnesium, iodine, B12, K2, and D3. So that's pretty much that. So if you wanted to say, do you take anything else? I take a couple of other things. I'm not just swallowing pills all day long, but I take my Complement Plus. Then I take this thing, it's called TruNiagen, and it is supposed to energize your cells and help keep you young. Now, I learned about this from Dr. Rudolph Tanzi, who is at Harvard, and Dr. Tanzi was part of the group that discovered the first Alzheimer's gene, and he's been on other groups looking at that. He's a really substantial researcher, and he's on board with this, so I figure I'm going to be on board with it too. And then I take some biotin. This is a B vitamin that's supposed to be good for your nails and your hair. So, this is my vanity supplement. So that's what I take. And I take some herbs too. We'll talk about herbs another day. So primarily, to sum it all up, eat good food, eat lots of different wonderful foods that grow up out of the ground, eat lots of wonderful colors. And, if you want to take 3 or 4, or I guess what I do is 5 pills a day, that makes me feel that I've really covered my bases. And, I want to be a healthy person. I want to be a healthy vegan. I want to be a healthy elder. And life is good. So thank you all for watching. I hope some of you will be moving on over to the Compassion Consortium, compassionconsortium.org. Get your free Eventbrite ticket, and you'll get the Zoom link, and you can hear my interview with Kathy Freston, and we're going to have so much other really good stuff. It's like church for people who care about everybody and animals and the earth. See you guys tomorrow. All the best.